However, when in the writing process, her attention kept on getting pulled into these themes of portrayal. So, what you're actually going to hear tonight are poems that act as literary autopsies, investigating dismembering of marriage. Yet, it is through the art making process that Sarey remembers fragments of self in search of an authentic intimacy. Theologian Catherine Reckless brings up the question that Sarey's work solicits. What does theology have to say regarding eros as the means of salvific transformation of human subjects? Here is Sarey Martin's bestowal of poetic lament that make up certain parts.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Sarey Martin, and the project is called Certain Parts. There it is. So I'm just going to start by reading from Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verses 6 through 8. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved had turned and gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. The watchmen found me. As they went about in the city, they beat me, they bruised me, they took away my veil. Those watchmen of the walls, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if you find my beloved, then you tell him, I am sick with love. The word of the Lord. Cool. So why are these verses in the Bible, and why am I reading them? Let's think about some of that. So this is an excerpt that I actually chose to include in my thesis project, which is turned into a poetry zine called Certain Parts. This is the final product. It's a collection of poetry, and here's a cover. But this passage speaks to themes that are important to my project. It speaks to the idea of unmet desire and sadness over love relationships. These subjects are not always considered very spiritual. However, we're created with a deep need for human love relationships, and there's so much brokenness in that area of life. Also, problems in this area are often perceived as embarrassing. Reading this passage in the aftermath of a divorce would take on a whole new meaning. It says in my artist statement, which is on the website and the programs, which I hope you'll read, I envisioned creating my own personal lament, dealing particularly with this subject. So what was born was a collection of love poems and heartbreak poems that have a theological dimension. I tried to create word pictures that sink deep into moments of trauma and emotional crisis with God's love in the picture, sometimes very close, but sometimes very far away. I also like to explore how relationships affect identity. Everyone agrees that humans are designed to connect with people, to live in community, but we also at the same time feel kind of lame about it. We don't want to need people. And we feel this pressure to be really independent or to become our truly authentic selves without significant influence of others. But guess what? I have a Charles Taylor quote. As Charles Taylor points out in The Ethics of Authenticity, human life is fundamentally dialogical in character. He says, we become full human agents capable of understanding ourselves and hence of defining our identity through our acquisition of rich human languages of expression. No one acquires the languages needed for self-definition on their own. We are introduced to them through exchanges with others who matter to us. What George Herbert Mead called significant others. This is how we're built as humans, and not something to be escaped, but so often these dialogical exchanges with people who we love veer into darkness. We see selfishness, codependency, abandonment, manipulation, and disillusionment. Themes which I will now read poems to you about. As a disclaimer, these pieces are PG-13 at times, and there's an expletive or two in a couple pieces. I felt it was creatively appropriate, so I hope I won't offend anybody. Consider yourself forewarned. But also, if you would like a copy of the book, just approach me during the intermission or afterwards in the back, and I'll just give you one until I run out. I'd also be happy to field any questions. The first two poems that I will read to you deal with this topic of disillusionment and unmet expectations. The first one's called The Plot Devices. What are the plot devices that would make you feel the way I felt when he gutted me on a routine hunting trip in a big city? There were rock stars and braziers, and I was counting the days to our babes. Except that as I X'd out the front, days were added to the end. And I kept bending forward, bending back, turning, accommodating, helping out, lending a hand, bearing secrets and bearing parts of my hearts along with them. That said, what a sad, tired story. Who wants to hear about a lady past her prime that got her heart broken a few times? She should have known better. Is that dumb bitch colorblind? The flags were red. But she thought red was just an ingredient in purple at the time. Next one's called The Cave. I woke up in a cave after having slept beside you for some time. To my surprise, I found nothing on the other end of the handcuffs I still wore, which bound me to you. I lifted my arm to see them hang heavy, but not as heavy as when your arm hung from the other end. For a moment I imagined I might be a fashion model, couture, with this languid accessory and my languid body reclining on the rocks. I heard a rumbling sound and followed it, and I thought it might be you. I wouldn't know until much later that you were many miles away, and instead I found King Saul. He was defecating. I inhaled deeply, because I wanted to remember every detail of that moment. Stealthily, I cut off a corner of your robe and slipped away, saying prayers over the triangle of fabric that I cupped in my hand, saying, Lord, may he return very soon. So I just had to convince my battalion not to cause you any harm. I told them about your childhood. I told them that I knew. I told them it would be fine. I told them I forgave you. And I told them about your childhood. I told them that I knew. I told them I would be fine. I told them I forgave you. A silence, a pause, some tears, some rust. And then the only question was from me. Has anybody seen the keys to these cuffs? All right. These next two deal with the subject of intimacy. So I apologize in advance. This one's called NBD. That stands for no big deal. Don't worry, everything erotic I've ever seen, thought, said, or did is swept into a pile in the middle of the room. Don't worry, not this room, another room. I've doused a blanket in bleach and draped it over the pile, soggily, a quilt of memory that grows tendrils at times, while just trying to have a good time. I offer it up as a benefit, a liability, a very big deal, and no big deal at all. A Mona Lisa and a disaster all in one. It's true, girls just want to have fun. But why can't this poem about sensual things show any leg? Maybe because I find passion to be cliche. But I will kill you, you wanton thing. I will fast and fast until intimate things grow green. I will tide my pleasures under juniper trees. Feel versus real. What I feel and what is real are in the shower together, very intimate. Are they married? Have they discussed if they want children? And whether they will get a joint bank account or not? What I feel and what is real met online. They kissed on the first date and don't have time to think about whether or not that was wise. What I feel and what is real is like a ball and chain. A pirate and his wench and a beer stein have sentenced me to death at the bottom of the ocean. What I feel and what is real are stuck at Border Patrol after eloping last summer and time traveling to the Last Supper where they realized things were so bad that someone was going to have to die. Knock on the door because they're in the shower together and I see there is water flooding the hall. All right, these last two deal more with the redemptive side of pain. God in the darkness. When I learned that God was in the darkness with me, it was equal parts silence and roaring din, followed by the new bang. Would I look good with bangs? I'd just begun becoming concerned once more with things like hairstyles. But in small doses, there was a new kind of boundless hope. Until the pebble hit the pond, and the pond was so much bigger than it was before. It was an ocean. So the ripples looked and sounded and tasted eternal. It's not sad. You can't even surf here. It's not safe. Smashed. Back down into the waters under the earth to wait it out. Floating between dream and wake, not knowing which is which. A solitary note from a stringed instrument rings out. Has it always been there? Did I just notice? I see a man's body in the great expanse. Is he alive? He's bleeding out onto the neon surface. And now there's no score, just cosmic silence. I see clearly that his suffering is worse than mine, and I wonder, what role am I meant to play in all of this? I have only one more to read for you. So thank you for bearing with me, especially if poetry is not your thing. So I just wanted to say, I started my seminary journey with the hope that no painful experience I endured would go wasted, and that there could be some redemption to come out of it. It's been an incredible bookend to my seminary experience to do that through art. So I just wanted to share my thankfulness for that. That being said, now read the button. Someone pressed the button, igniting the reaction to the last time this happened, and the time before that, and the time before that, eventually arriving at a time before you even knew how to speak. At that time, you'd dirty your diapers and sit in that shit, and even then there was a button that traveled straight back to before you were born. You wonder about Jesus and ask, did he die for the sin of this abuser and also for his father and the suffering of the babes? And when Christ gave Pilate no answer, was it because he could feel all those unspeakable moments leaving cracks in my face? Visiting the iniquity of the fathers to the third and fourth generations, and here you are in the present, once more, unable to speak, because the feeling is so unnameable, and all that's igniting, with their roots so deep in history that tomorrow seems like an impossible destination. But you end up getting there, and one day, you're sitting across from a person in pieces, and you can look at their flushed face and sunken eyes and say, my sweet babe, I know just how you feel. Thank you.